All right, let's go ahead and kick things off. Welcome everybody to our September town hall. It's already September, holy moly. For those of you who have not met, I'm Maggie. I'm the community product manager for DataHub. So happy to have you here. We have a packed agenda, some really exciting features to roll out. So let's go ahead and get moving on it. Alrighty, let me make sure that I have this set up over here. Okay, so a quick run through of our agenda. We are gonna, I will give a brief community and roadmap update. As always, we will go through our project updates just to kind of let folks know what our recent releases have looked like and how the project is moving along. Today, we're joined by some folks from Stripe to give us a case study of how they're using DataHub in conjunction with Airflow within their Airflow-based ecosystem. Then we're going to take a look at our upcoming column level lineage support. And then we also have a sneak peek at some automated PII classification. So a ton of really awesome items for us to take a look at. So let's take a quick look at our community growth. In the past month, we have welcomed 377 new Slack members. So we're now at about 4,600. I believe this is our highest number of new community members to date. We did, for those of you who have been in prior town halls, we did see a little bit of a summer slump, but we're excited to see that folks are joining again at a higher rate and still, seeing nearly 800 weekly active users within our Slack instance. So as always, we have a super vibrant and supportive community and really appreciate folks for engaging there with over 10, almost 11,000 messages sent in Slack. Like it's just a dizzying number of conversations. And as always, you guys know that how much I love a good Slack emoji. So we had just shy of 600 Slack emojis this month. So one other thing that we like to look at as a group is our just kind of understanding how our support volume is going, both in contributions to the project, but then also support within the community. So taking a look at our GitHub throughput, so between PRs and issues, we did see a big spike at the beginning of September. So the week of the 5th, we had 72 PRs open, which I think is an all-time weekly high. And then, in this last 4 weeks, we're averaging around 56 new PRs open in a given week. And we're doing a really good job of kind of keeping track or keeping pace with merging those and kind of maintaining parity there. And, this is a slight, just kind of like the average of 56 PRs in a week over week basis is slightly higher, about 7 higher than the 4 weeks prior. So we're definitely seeing a ton of really great volume coming in there. In terms of our support channels within Slack, we saw an average of 644 support messages across all of our channels in the past 4 weeks, which was a slight decrease from the 4 weeks prior. The majority of questions that are coming in are between the ingestion and troubleshoot channels. And this is really kind of a call for support from the community. If you're able to jump in and help, we really genuinely appreciate that support. The more that we have community supporting one another, the more we can turn our focus to new features, moving those community-led contributions through the project, etc. Taking a quick look at our Q3 roadmap. So we are officially at the end of Q3. We've made some really great progress on our lineage enhancements, which we're going to demo this round. Advanced search, we actually demoed that last month. And we are planning on getting that through, I believe, in the next release. So that advanced search functionality will be coming out imminently. And then a couple of things that we still have planned, removing Confluent schema registry as a hard requirement. This has come up in the community as a blocker a handful of times, but we're actually starting to see some pretty reliable workarounds there. So we're kind of weighing the pros and cons of explicitly removing that requirement versus just kind of providing best practices and more concrete guidance about how to work around that requirement. So more to come in coming weeks. And then in terms of our Q4 roadmap, we're kind of putting some finishing touches on it. I will be sure, I don't have anything to share with you today, but I'll be sure to announce it within our Slack community and then also through our newsletter, et cetera, when we have that up and running. One thing we have on our kind of to-dos for October is to roll out a crowdsourced glossary. So the idea here is, there are standard glossaries across industries. So glossaries like FIBO, Microsoft has a common data model. There's Medra for kind of like the healthcare industry. The idea here is like, let's just take what resources that already exist, format them so they're easy to ingest into DataHub, and then have just kind of a common repo that folks within the community can contribute to, rely upon, and really just kind of take that dry approach where we don't all need to be kind of recreating the wheel from scratch every single time. So more to come here, but just wanted to get this on folks' radar that we will be announcing this within the community or within our normal channels and our newsletter, and we would love contributions there, especially for folks that are in kind of niche industries or actually, just have expertise in industries. We'd love to really build out a really robust set of glossary resources there. One other thing to call out, Shashanka is rolling out a blog series on Metadata Day. So for those of you who are not aware, earlier, I believe it was in May, we had an event called Metadata Day where we talked about best practices around modern data governance and code-driven data governance. So if you've not already, these are fantastic reads. There's a ton of really great insights and information packed in there. So you can find those easily just by going to blog.datahubproject.io. And stay tuned, there'll be a couple other articles coming out in there. We'll also be linking to those in announcements as they roll out. But yeah, definitely worth a read. Some really great insights from both Shashanka, but also industry leaders that we spoke with on Metadata or during Metadata Day. Couple of things, in-person events coming up. John Joyce and I are going to be in Budapest next week, speaking at Crunch, which is a data conference in Budapest. We will be talking about how to start cleaning up your data swamp using modern data governance. If you are attending the conference, please let us know. Would love to meet up. If you're just in Budapest or in the area, also let us know. Would love to meet up. And I haven't been to that part of Europe, so I'm super, super excited. The other thing is that Herschel and I are going to be traveling to New Orleans for Coalesce in October. I will be on the HEX panel hosted by Claire Carroll and Izzy Miller from the HEX team. So please, if you're going to be at Coalesce, again, please let me and Herschel know. We'd love to meet up with you in person and or come to the session. It should be a fun one. Okay. Community shout outs. This is personally my favorite part. We have just an outstanding community of supportive and wonderful human beings. We love to give them the appreciation and gratitude that they so deeply deserve. So in the past month or so, we've had just a ton of folks jump up and provide support within the community. As always, massive shout out to Excel. Excel is in all of our support channels, constantly giving really great guidance and jumping in when otherwise the core team isn't able to. And also just these really wonderful humans here that are helping. And this is everything from, kind of hands-on troubleshooting or, kind of like providing links out to existing resources or prior conversations. So we really genuinely appreciate all of the support that these folks are giving us. And then let's do a handful of code shout outs. Shashanka, I'm going to hand this one over to you.
Sure. Yeah. This was a tough one because I looked at kind of the contributions that came in the last 4 or 5 weeks, and it's been tremendous. We'll look at the stats in a bit, but these were the code contributions that I thought were stand out, both in terms of their impact as well as the amount of changes that were required. So David, you might have known him from before. He contributed the protobuf schema module back in the day. And he's back contributing kind of our upgrade to Java 11. And so the new master, basically open source branch now builds on Java 11. And it was a big change, and really glad that we got this in. Thank you, David. The next one is from Alexei, who figured out that our checkpoint state was actually pretty large, and he figured out a very creative and simple way to compress it and tested it out and made it backwards compatible, and that was amazing. And so now for people who are dealing with stateful ingestion and lots of entities getting ingested and taking up a lot of space, you could just turn on this compression flag and you'll see your state kind of get compressed a lot. So really big contribution. Amanda has been contributing all over the stack. Actually, we've gotten front-end contributions from them, and now also got a contribution on standardizing the ownership change event payload. This is important when you're writing DataHub actions, which need to do something when an ownership changes. And again, a very core contribution to the platform. And finally, a lot of people like DataHub because it supports extensibility in a strongly typed way. You can add additional aspects to existing entities. And we got a contribution here from P. Ghazanfari. I'm sure I'm butchering that last name, but it's a really important contribution because they figured out that we were supporting new custom entities in the model, but we actually weren't supporting it from the outside in. And this was a really impactful contribution. And so now you can actually extend the metadata model from outside, and you can add new entities as well. So it's a huge contribution. And I think that was not all.
More.
Yeah, there's also, I was just going through them, and there's like a ton of really impactful ones actually this time. So last but not the least, Presto on Hive. It's actually an emerging, very important connector. It allows you to connect to the backend database and pull out Hive metadata in a much more efficient manner. And Azo added support for both stateful ingestion for that connector, as well as subtypes and a lot of general improvements. So thanks a lot. These are all deep contributions. They're not superficial. They're not 5 lines of doc changes. I mean, there's a ton of that also, and we really love it. But these are like serious code contributions. So I'm really happy to see this level of contributions coming in.
Awesome.
Back to you, Amanda.
All right. So one thing that I like to call out, in addition to your wonderful code contributions and supporting the community, is that there are a ton of ways that you can contribute back to the project. One of those is by considering contributing to our community-led blog. So this is led by myself and Elizabeth Cohen, who's on my team. And we'd love to team up with you to contribute to the DataHub blog, hear about your experiences using DataHub, modern approaches to data governance, how you evaluated DataHub, et cetera. Resources like this are extremely valuable for other community members who are trying to get a sense of what problems you can solve with DataHub, or roadblocks you hit along the way, or how you approached the rollout, kind of all of these kind of bigger questions. So again, like, there are so many ways to contribute back to the community. It doesn't have to be just code. It doesn't have to be troubleshooting support. It can be sharing your experiences and kind of getting the word out there. Okay. Oh, I ruined the surprise. I am completely overjoyed to announce that I am no longer the only community person. I am now part of a team of 2. We have brought on Paul Logan as our DevRel lead, and I will pass it over to you, sir, to give us a little bit of your background.
Hi, all. My name's Paul. Nice to meet you. I am a developer relations specialist. I will be the developer relations lead here at Acryl. Previously, I have done similar work at Postman and Slack. At Postman, I did a lot of speaking, conferences, meetup, teaching people how to use the tool. And at Slack, I worked on their API site. Here at Acryl, I really hope to be able to help you as a community. One of the things I'm going to be working on is docs, and as well as producing content that will help people get started and really drive more value from DataHub and Acryl Managed Solutions tool. A fun fact about me is that in between working at Acryl right now and working at Slack, I thru-hiked the Pacific Crest Trail, which is a contiguous footpath from the Mexican border to the Canadian border. Please, if you have any questions, any burning questions about the community or about the documentation or about anything DataHub or Acryl, please reach out to me at Twitter. My handle is lol_Pogan, and you will see me around in the community. Thank you very much. Back to you, Maggie.
So happy you're here, Paul. We have a ton of really great things coming. And yeah, I feel like we're just only scratching the surface of what we can do to support the community. I'm really excited. All right, let's move on to Shoshanka said in chat, I'm planning to sleep 8 hours a night again. A girl can dream, that's that's a dream. All right, let's move over to project updates. So Shoshanka, do you want me to go through contributors really quick?
Yeah, great.
Cool. All right. So in the month of September, we had a massive number of PRs come in that we merged. We merged nearly 300 PRs between the main DataHub project as well as our Acryl DataHub Helm project. This is literally 100 more PRs than the month prior. So we have been a very busy group over here. Not only that, there's 16 first-time contributors, and in total, we had 48 people contribute to the project. I'm personally just like overwhelmed by how freaking cool this is, that we're not only like cranking out a tremendous amount of volume, but also welcoming so many dang new contributors and really building out this really vibrant and supportive community. So massive shout out to these folks. Really appreciate all of your support along the way.
Cool. Moving over from contributors to project updates. As you've probably seen, the platform and the application continues to move forward super rapidly. On the user experience side, we've actually done 2 releases in the last month. So yay for bi-weekly releases. We're gonna stay much more on point with that. So on the user experience side, we've added a lot of new capabilities. You'll see a much snappier experience on the lineage visualization. We've allowed support for the glossary term groups to be also covered by the permissions engine. We now have a search bar for the dataset schema tab. That's a sneaky Easter feature. If you're not careful and you've got your blinders on and you're expecting to see schemas just the same way you've been seeing them before, you might miss it. So make sure to look at that next schema page and look for that search bar. It's very useful for lots, and when you have data sets with lots and lots of columns in them. And a lot of improvements to ingestion overall, but specifically for UI-based ingestion. I think we've demoed some of it previously. You can now view live logs during execution. You can view ingestion summaries, both for CLI-based runs as well as for UI-based runs. Some more improvements on the looker side. When you're searching, we actually support better search matching. When you're searching for a measure or a dimension, we actually not only surface the explorers or views that they're part of, but also the charts or looks and the dashboards that reference those fields. So we're actually starting to see the power of lineage kind of kicking in the search experience as well, which is great. Moving on to metadata integrations, we now have a BigQuery beta source. Harshal will cover it as part of the ingestion upgrades. A bunch of improvements in browse path capabilities, improved documentations. You can read it. I'm not going to read through every single one of these. Lots of improvements. I'll let Harshal actually cover them in the next slide. And last but not the least, the dev experience and the platform continues to get better. You can now restore indices using the API. It was something that was only known as a dark art for people who knew how to run kubectl commands appropriately, but now you can actually trigger it through the service API. Improvements to impact analysis, we've added caching, and support for patch, which we demoed last town hall, is now in the product. There are some handy docs coming that'll help you understand how to emit patch updates for adding ownership, tags, terms to fields without having to read modify, right? And personal access tokens are not going to expire on you anymore if you don't want them to. So we now support forever tokens for personal access tokens. Python 3.6 is deprecated, and some big announcements coming up. If we hit next, we are no longer on Java 8. We have moved to Java 11 for our builds. So if you've got a fork, remember when you're going to rebase or merge OSS back into your fork, you need to rerun, you set up your development environment to Java 11. Hopefully this is actually better and not worse for most people. And as a result, this was the last 0.8.x release. So the next release is going to be 0.9.0. And that reflects kind of both a maturing of the platform and a growing up of DataHub, but also the fact that we are now going to be Java 11 up going forward. That's it from me. And we're going to go over to Harshal really quick for ingestion updates because we have a bunch.
Yeah, so Shashanka mentioned a couple of these on the previous slide. We have a new BigQuery connector that is in beta right now and has a ton of improvements, supports like nested structs and parsing that out. You don't have to configure a separate usage connector. So that's improving rapidly. The Snowflake beta connector is no longer beta. It's now stable. The old one has been renamed to Snowflake Legacy and will probably get removed. That new connector has new support for column level lineage, which is super exciting. And then it has a bunch of other improvements around performance and things. So would love for people to start giving that a spin. In addition to that, LookML, we heard that, you know, cloning your Git repo separately and then running LookML ingestion against that repo is kind of a pain. And so now we can automatically clone your Git repo, which means you can also configure LookML ingestion through the UI, and you don't have to run it yourself. And then the Looker source have made a ton of performance improvements. So if you used to get those issues around the process getting killed because of out of memory, Looker is a lot more efficient on that now. DBT supports column level meta mappings, so you can add terms and tags to the columns, which is super important if you want to, you know, tag something as sensitive and then use column level lineage to take a look at where else that sensitive column is used. On Tableau, we now support chart usage. We actually added a new aspect to the chart type, and Tableau now supports that. And then on the Presto and Hive, we got a great community contribution, adding stateful ingestion, and also extracting some descriptions and view data. And then finally in the core, checkpoint state compression, and you can now delete and roll back things, like time series aspects being things like data quality over time. You can go and delete that data or roll it back if it was bad from an ingestion run. So yeah, tons of stuff. I see there's a bunch of questions in chat that I'll get to answering as well. But yeah, back to you, Maggie.
All right, I'm going to hand this over to Aditya for a quick update on inviting users.
Hey everyone, if you remember last town hall, we unveiled role-based access control on DataHub so that you don't have to fiddle around with the policy system unless you want to. So we had this inviting new users onto DataHub feature, and we decided to spice things up a little bit. And now when you send invite links to new users, you can configure specific links for the roles that we have on DataHub. So you can send users that you want to be admin users or reader users separate links. And when they sign up on DataHub, they'll automatically be assigned to this role. This is also useful because if you have existing DataHub users that are, were added through other ways like SSO, you can actually send them the same link. And instead of being prompted to sign up as a new user, they'll just be assigned to that role, which will replace whatever role they had before. So we hope that this makes it easier to, assign people to roles. And just as a quick note, if you also want to not have someone assigned to a role, there's an option for no role in case you're already using our policy system and want to just continue to use that. That's it. Please let me know if you have any feedback on this feature. Thanks.